Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The New York Times is reporting that President Trump wants the Justice Department to pay him more than $230 million to compensate for the DOJ's past investigations of Trump's actions in and out of office. It's an unprecedented move that raises all sorts of legal and ethical questions. And joining us now is attorney Stephen Montoya, partner Montoya, Lucero, and Pastor, our go-to guy when it comes to the Supreme Court. And I got to tell you, Stead, we're going to have to figure this one out because I'm bamboozled by this whole idea. He basically says, I'll settle, but you got to pay me, and he says he might take it to charity, something along, but you got to pay me $230 million? What's going on here?
Something unprecedented and bizarre, if it weren't so tragic, because we have to listen to it and take it seriously. There's something called the Federal Tort Claims Act. It was passed by Congress in 1946, way back when Harry Truman was the president, because before that time, an officer of the United States could violate your rights grotesquely, and you couldn't sue the United States for the violation based upon the doctrine of sovereign immunity. We got it from the common law of England. You couldn't sue the king, King George, of course. So initially, you couldn't sue the federal government in the United States. That changed in 1946 when the United States passed a law allowing citizens to sue the United States government for the same reasons they could sue an entity under state law.
Okay, so we've got that, but can a sitting president with associates, with friends, with underlings, former underlings in the Justice Department, can he say, listen, we can settle any kind of suit that might be brought or is brought, you just pay me with taxpayer funds? I mean, goodness gracious, Steve, where are we at here?
Can he do that? Yes. Thanks to the United States Supreme Court last year when it ruled that Trump was immune from criminal prosecution and could not be charged for any crime committed in the course of office. Moreover, the same Supreme Court, as we've discussed on this show, has adopted the extreme version of the unitary executive theory. In the words of the Chief Justice, John Roberts, the president is the only individual in our government who occupies an entire branch of the government himself. And what that literally means, the arithmetic on that, is that Trump could order his subordinates in the Department of Justice to pay him that money based upon his two bogus claims. And the claims are really bogus. I've been suing the government for as long as I've been practicing law. That's well over 30 years. Suing the government is the hardest thing you can do in the law. Trump's claims are bogus. They're not worth a cent. For anyone to even suggest they're worth any money, much less $230 million, is preposterous.
The two claims are the Russian election tampering investigation
for which he was not indicted, and it's not against the law for the FBI to investigate a crime. That doesn't hurt you. It's a confidential investigation.
He says it violated his rights.
Well, you know, we do not have a right not to be investigated by the FBI. His other claim arising from the search warrant that was executed at his estate in South Florida, Mar-a-Lago, because he was allegedly keeping classified documents. That was based upon a lawful warrant issued by a federal judge.
He called it malicious prosecution.
Well, but that's something, there are two things there. There's the false search. However, the people who conducted that were shielded by the doctrine of absolute immunity that flows from the warrant, the search warrant that was issued by the federal judge. So it's going on. In order to overcome that, you have to show that the agents who secured the search warrant from the federal judge lied, flat out lied to the federal judge. you can't show that in this case because a grand jury ultimately indicted Trump for holding those documents, which were seized at his home pursuant to the search warrant. And in order to indict someone, including the president, first you have to secure the indictment through a grand jury. And the grand jury is a neutral body, and it also immunizes the prosecutors involved.
The fact that the prosecutors involved in this now, the new set of prosecutors at the Department of Justice, are all previous associates of the president. The president has what appears to be total supervision over the Department of Justice, which is, there's a whole different segment on the rights and wrongs there. I mean, where does this all add up? Where does this all lead? To disaster, to ridicule of the United States throughout the world. I tell you, I've been practicing law for over 30 years. This is the worst I've ever seen it. In my wildest dreams, I could not have imagined this. And the problem is the courts haven't said no. And those lawyers are not previous lawyers. Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, said that he still has a private attorney-client relationship with President Trump. So it's an ongoing relationship. And in fact, it's a relationship prohibited by the rules of professional conduct that govern all lawyers. That is a prohibited relationship. You can't be both the lawyer of the United States and the president's private lawyer. That is inconsistent. It's impermissible. So what would the courts likely say or do in this situation?
Well, the problem is it might not come before a court because the attorney generals, the Justice Department might authorize the payments, and Trump might take the money, and someone would have to find standing to sue. And I don't think there is. I don't think anyone has standing to sue. Taxpayers don't have standing.
They would not have standing.
No.
Why not?
Because in order to have standing under the Supreme Court's doctrine, you have to suffer an individualized harm that not everyone is also suffering. We all suffer alike under this regime.
So, last question here. He says he's going to give the money to charity. Does that make any difference?
No, it doesn't make any difference, and he said that before and hasn't come through, but it makes no difference at all.
The fact that this is taxpayer money, does that make any difference?
It should make a difference to the Republicans who run for election after President Trump.
Here's my last question. I lied the previous time. There was perjury there. If this somehow becomes before the Supreme Court, what do you expect the court to do about something like this?
I would suspect that they would do all they could. I would suspect and hope that they would reverse it and say that there was a prohibited conflict of interest, and the merits of the underlying claims are ridiculous. This is not a strong case. This is a frivolous case. This is a joke, a bad joke of a case.
Stephen Montoya, Lucero, and Pastor, always a pleasure, sir. Good to see you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, sir.